Welcome back to the wedding frame. Today, I have a very special guest on the show. My husband is here with me, and he has worked in sales forever, it seems. So, I wanted to bring him on to talk about all the sales techniques he's learned over the years that he's worked in this field. He's helped me a lot, and I know he can help you guys with sales techniques when, inquiries come in. A lot of photographers are amazing at their craft, but they sometimes feel awkward or unsure about the selling part. So today we're going to be breaking that down in a simple and approachable way. But first, hi, Alvaro.
Hello.
So, how long have you been working in sales? Like pretty much your whole adult life, right?
Yeah, from one of my first jobs was selling mortgage refinances. And I mean, that was, gosh, like almost 20 years ago.
Wow, yeah. So I'm assuming you've learned a lot along the way.
Yeah, I've taken it upon myself to not only learn from my jobs, but also to do my own reading and learning outside of work so I can stay up on the latest sales techniques and know more about the philosophy of sales and psychology of sales.
Great. Yeah, it's like definitely like your passion. And I think you also mentioned that you've like had mentees as newer, less experienced employees come into your workplace. You've had them ask you to be somewhat of a mentor.
Yeah, I mean, not directly where they're like, "Hey, I want you to be my mentor," but more like when they've asked me questions, I've always been really welcoming of questions. I know when you teach it, it refreshes certain ideas and lessons that you've learned when you teach it to somebody else. So I've always been really open. Plus, just my personality, I'm welcoming to people asking me questions or wanting to know more about what I know. So
Yeah.
naturally, I've like taken newer salespeople under my wing and been able to help them as much as I can.
Amazing. All right. Well, let me start with the questions. So let's see. From your perspective, why do you think wedding photographers sometimes struggle with sales conversions? Like, what do you think about making the sale makes it feel intimidating for people who are creative like me?
Well, I know from having tried to help you to be to use more salesmanship in the way that you interact with your potential customers, that you don't feel like you just have a tendency to not want to be pushy at all. You just want people to make their own decisions. But
Yeah.
sometimes people need to be helped to make decisions. Sometimes people like as a salesperson, the mentality you have to have, I think a positive mentality is that you want to help people make the right decision. And if you really believe that you're the right photographer for the job, or whatever it is that you're selling, but in this case, photography, and
Mhm.
you have a conversation with them and you believe you're on the same page and you're going to be the best fit for them, then you should let them know that they should choose you. And sometimes people are just do not want to they don't want to be pushy. They're so afraid of being pushy that they lose the sale.
Okay. Okay. So now that I've started doing mentorships, I always tell photographers that the inquiry stage is not about convincing anyone. It's about showing your value and letting them see who you are. So you kind of gave me a little bit of your take on that. The thought of I don't want to convince anyone is maybe holding me back.
Yeah, and it's not so much about convincing. You should have a genuine conversation with people, and sometimes you might find that you're not the right fit for them. And part of being a good salesperson is admitting that to yourself and the client, like, "Hey, I don't think that we're a good fit because of this and this," and refer them to somebody you think might be a better fit. But if you think they're a good fit, then go for it. I mean, it's your success that's on the line. No one else is gonna call them and close the deal for you. Yeah, you have to take that upon yourself. So if you see that the potential is there, and you don't know what it's going to lead to in the future too, it's so important to try to close that deal for yourself.
Yeah, I do remember asking you a while ago, or telling you that I, when I'm in a discovery call or a consultation, I close it by, I don't, I think I would not even, oh, I remember. I would say, all right, well, think about it. Maybe even talk to other photographers and
Mhm.
email me when you're ready, when you're sure that you want me. And my thinking was, I don't want them to go with me unless they 100% know that they want me as their photographer.
Mhm,
But I think because of you, I started changing that at the end, saying or adding that I would like to photograph their wedding, like actually letting them know that it's something that I would want, that I thought we vibed really well, and I think their wedding would be so much fun. And
mhm.
I mean, like, yes, vibing with people is very important, right? So I,
Nothing sells better than having enthusiasm and just a genuine excitement for working with them. Nothing's gonna sell better than that.
yeah, yeah. So I'm glad I did because of you change that. Because if you're just coming across as, I don't know, it's almost a little bit arrogant, right? Like to not even express that you want to do
Mhm.
their wedding or whatever. So,
Like, take it or leave it. I don't like, we don't care. And let me just say this about that too, like, if I'm a big believer that there's no one right way to do anything, so if you wanna be the type of salesperson that's more like, go shop around, make sure that we're the right fit, and if I'm the one, then come back. I think that's a fine way to do things if that's how you want to sell. Just make sure that you follow up with what you say. If you say, that
mm,
you look around, be the person to follow up and be like, hey, were you able to look around? What did you find? Like, and follow up with people if that's how you're going to sell. Otherwise, try to close it on that first or second call.
okay, yeah. So, something I always emphasize um, is responding quickly to inquiries because couples feel seen right away. And this is something that I actually learned from other experts while either listening to other podcasts or just, reading from people who have been in this field, not necessarily as photographers, but more like sales experts. And specifically, I've heard that you should respond within 5 minutes to an email.
Mhm.
And I also have heard that some people, some photographers wait 24 hours. They even have something like a responder saying like, "Oh, I'm busy shooting a wedding. I'll get back to you in 24 hours." So what do you think about that response time?
I think it's very important to follow up as soon as you can, and I've really never heard different advice from that. I think that might be the first time I've heard it. You saying mentioning that right now, which I guess it could be a technique that some people can pull off. Like I said, there's no one right way to do things. It reminds me of like the movie Swingers, where they're like, you gotta wait 3 days to call the girl. Like it's just like a game that you're playing. But to me, it's like there's a very straightforward reason why you want to call right away is because you're in a competitive market, and if you don't call right away, you wait 24 hours and you call them and they might have already had this great conversation with another photographer. They might have been this photographer might have been their second choice, but they called them first. They had a great conversation, and now you're out of the running. So it's just like you just want to be the first one, just out of the competition and being able to get to the customer first. To me, it's a very straightforward answer to that.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? I didn't even think about the responder message of busy shooting a wedding like that. I didn't even think of that as a technique, but I have heard that just people appearing to be so busy, right? Because I guess people want to book busy people. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I don't think that's the smartest thing to do.
I think that is it's a viable technique, but it's so
Okay.
hard to pull off. It's better like to do that genuinely. If you're genuinely busy, then people do want to work with you more. Like I think in marketing, everybody knows that there's a supply and demand, and it creates people wanting, like, creates value and people want it more. So yeah, it's true. But if you're trying to like present yourself like that, then you got to be really careful, because one wrong move with that kind of technique and you just lost a sale just because you're trying to play a game. But if people want to try that,
I think most of us definitely put money into marketing, advertising. So, yeah, maybe we shouldn't be playing games for sure. We need to go with a more surefire technique. All right, so let's talk about pricing. A lot of photographers feel nervous when someone asks about price. What is a good way to handle that without immediately jumping into money talk?
well, with pricing like that, I think that's a very that's very specific to photography. I found when we've spoken about this part of your sales process.
Mhm.
I think it's best to be just straightforward with people, but you also wanna, this comes with experience, is you wanna read them too. The better you are at reading people, like, the better you're gonna be able to present yourself, and, once you're good at reading the customers, and then you can know if you can be straightforward right off the bat or a little bit later on, but the pricing thing is very nuanced. I think we'd have to get more into specifics, like, what, depending on what kind of photographer you are, like if you're a luxury photographer or if you're a brand new photographer, when you present the pricing is gonna be totally different. So it's a, yeah, it's a very nuanced topic.
Okay, yeah, and you know what? Now that you mentioned that, I'm thinking about the kind of controversial topic of whether to put your pricing on your website or not. So, and I say controversial because it's just such a hot topic with us wedding photographers. And some people really believe in not putting any pricing so that you have the chance to sell, like on the phone or on the Zoom call or whatever.
Mhm.
Others think you should put your pricing, especially with, I guess, Gen Zers are saying, are they want transparency. And that way you're not wasting time with people who, the moment they know what your pricing is, realize they can't afford you. Do you have a preference on philosophy?
A philosophy on that, I think you definitely wanna give them something, but you also wanna give yourself room to maneuver, and that I don't mean, like, to be duplicitous where when they call you, you have a totally different pricing, but you wanna give them something on
Mm.
your site, you wanna give them an idea, you also don't wanna waste your time if if you're completely out of somebody's price range, then why do you even wanna have a conversation with them? So I think you should present some kind of idea of what your pricing is, maybe a range, maybe make it clear on the site that there might be changes depending on travel, venue, whatever it is that you're gonna add on, that there will be, that it might change, the pricing might change, but yeah, you wanna give them a range, absolutely.
Okay, yeah. You know what? When I didn't have pricing, my thought was, and I hear this a lot actually with like the luxury market, like that means that you're not showing your worth, your value, meaning like my website should be showing images, even like the fonts. It should be screaming luxury.
Mhm.
So someone who thinks they can't afford me should not even want to inquire. But what I have found is that people are getting married for the first time. They have no idea how much photography costs. I mean, you and I just got married. And even though I'm in this industry, I didn't know what a florist cost. I was actually very surprised. So, um, I guess, yeah, I like what you're saying. And I think people either put starting at, um, I personally like average investment because
Mhm.
starting at that's all they can afford, and they think
Mhm.
they can get your services for the starting at price, which is usually not the case. So, yeah, that's great. I think that having a range or an average investment is perfect.
Yeah. You should give them something. I just think that unless you're, like, the world's most famous wedding photographer and only, like, the biggest stars contact you, then I guess you don't need to put your price on your site because
Oh, yeah,
they're so
everyone
in
knows.
demand, like, and they're gonna pay you whatever you want, but other than that, I mean, you should definitely give them something to
Yeah.
work with.
Okay, so I feel like people relax a lot more when we jump on a call. Why do you think like speaking with someone face to face is much stronger than just going, you know, speaking through emails?
Oh, people just wanna connect with somebody and they wanna talk to a person. I think that's not just specifically with sales, it's just in life in general. Most people don't wanna talk to a chat bot and be yelling at their phone, "Representative!" Like, they wanna talk to a real person. If an issue arises where they really need answers that are more nuanced, they're gonna want somebody on the phone with them.
Yeah, that's funny that you say that because I did have an AI chat box on my website that no one used, but I thought
Mm,
it was cool. But no, yeah, people would. instead of typing in a question on that chat box, they would rather just reach out. And I think another important thing, specifically for wedding photographers, is that we are going to be by the especially the bride's side, but the bride and groom, we're going to be by their side the whole day. So I've always said this is very important to connect with your couples on a consultation or discovery call because they need to know that they're gonna get along with you. Otherwise, their wedding day, the most important day of their life so far, may not go so well for them if they don't have a good feeling around you. Because
Yeah.
we're literally with them the whole day.
And the wedding industry is one of those businesses that's based so much around emotion. Um,
Yeah.
I know this is like a totally different end of the spectrum, but I've always heard that businesses that are based on emotion, are the easiest to sell, like to sell in, like funerals too.
Yeah.
People will just pay what they'll just pay. So it's like, so I think that's why a lot of wedding industry people don't focus so much on sales because it's really not as necessary. People just are ready to pay because they're buying with emotion. Yeah, so even in like with car sales, if the car salesman can make you feel something for the car, you're in it and he's like painting a picture, then you're gonna buy like instantly. It's like when we watched that show Mad Men and like he would use emotions to like sell the ads to people and it was just like building emotion in people is like the quickest way to a sale. And
And I
weddings
think
just come with it.
yeah, and not only do we evoke emotion when we're talking to the couple, you know, in that first discovery call, but it's also like your website should also be doing that. Everything
Mhm,
that you do visual, I mean, we are lucky because it's visual. So we should be doing that on our social media, our website. I once had a bride book me, and back then it was like my highest package and I was elated.
mhm,
But she booked me solely on well, after talking to me, but she told me that she saw an Instagram post where it was a couple on the beach, and I had written that the bride's father had passed away recently. And then it was an overcast day, and all of a sudden the sun came out, and it was like this gorgeous sunset. And the bride's mom was like, "Look, that's your dad," and I put
mhm.
that in the caption, and this bride's father had also passed away, and she also had a beach wedding, so it was just all connected for her, and it really spoke to her.
Mhm. This goes back also to the why you wanna call right away. It's like you already made them feel something on your website or through the photos they've seen of you or what story somebody told them about you. It's like they're ready and you gotta make sure to jump on that opportunity as soon as you're able to, because they felt some emotion.
Yeah, that leads me to another thing that I've been wondering about because, again, experts go back and forth with this, but it's sharing about your personal life. There was one point, I'd say like 5 years ago where or maybe not even that long ago, where it was all about your personality and, like, almost like oversharing and a lot of TikToks and reels. I mean,
Mhm.
I was doing that, but I know, like, also there's the thinking that you should be more elusive and exclusive. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I think with the like I said before about the elusive and exclusivity thing kinda goes with, like, not showing your prices unless you're, like, the most famous photographer. It's like the elusive exclusivity is, like, something that you work up to, and I think it should come
Mm.
naturally. If you're, like, artificially doing that, I don't in my opinion, I don't think it's gonna work very well. I think you should build yourself up to that just as a natural progression of your career. If you're an amazing photographer that's worked with everybody, eventually you're gonna be an exclusive person. You wanna present some of your personal life. But then at the same time, like, when I really think about it, I it shouldn't be that relevant. I mean, if you have amazing work, what does it matter what you're doing on your off time to them too, and. So
Yeah, I mean, like, it got to the point where people would put, like, "I love donuts," like, just very specific things. And, yeah, and it's like, it was to relate to your potential couples. I did have okay, so I actually did have that on my website. It's in my about
Well,
page.
I mean, if it comes down to, like, if you love donuts or not, like, if they're if you're, like, neck and neck with some other photographer and they're like, I'm really considering you," and then you wanna come up with some personal connection, that's where you start, like that's where, like, some real salesmanship comes in, where you do like, some subtly do a little digging about what they're into, and then maybe you find
Uh,
some connection with them, "Oh, like, I love that donut place too, I go there all the time," and you start building more rapport, and then they feel more friendly towards you, and then it's gonna influence their decision. So in that case, then I do think that something like that could be helpful.
I mean, I remember that specific thing that I had on my website because a bride did reach out and say something about her liking donuts too, but I know
Well,
that
there you go. So it's a
mostly.
conversation starter.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's more like social media influencer marketing, things that I don't know too much about, like using social media to sell. There's people that are like experts in that kind of selling and presenting yourself to people. Just as a overall view on it, I don't think it hurts. I think it's fine if it's a business page. If once in a while you share some of your life with people, I think people generally like that. I mean, I do. So if I'm following a business.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I know that I've been sharing less of like my mom life, right? Because they don't really relate to that. So I've been sharing when I go to cool events
Mhm.
or just more about, my photography world. So,
Yeah.
but I think there still should be a little bit of your personal life, you're right. And just it doesn't have to be crazy. Like,
Yeah. And you'll see, I think, from the response, like if people are liking it or if all of a sudden it's like you post something and there's no engagement, then you can know like, okay, like the people that follow me like don't like that post, I guess. So
Yeah, you should be monitoring those things. And in my last episode, I talked about the different markets, and you actually kind of sell differently in each market. So, with the more entry level or budget market, you're definitely going to want to lean into being their friend.
mhm.
That's a way more personal connection than the luxury market, where the couple is relying heavily on their planner. And these people are usually professionals who don't have time to like form a friendship with their vendors and they're just relying on the planner. So that's another part about it is, what market you're serving and you can then determine how you're going to show up on social media and on your website. All right. So moving on to once a photographer understands what a couple needs, what is the best way to present the pricing and packages or however a custom proposal? What's the best way to do that without overwhelming them?
Gently, clearly, with language they can understand, in a friendly but excited manner. Um, Here you would use more traditional sales techniques like mirroring, the way a certain kind of mimicking like a certain like the way a person speaks, like if they speak very quickly and very excited, then that's how you want to speak to them. If they're more laid back, kind of a chiller kind of person, and that's how you want to present it. So this is where you want to use your charm and present it in a positive way, like even if it's beyond their budget, maybe by a little bit, then you want to explain why your services are worth this amount. Make sure you that they understand everything completely before the presentation is over. Are there any more questions? Is there any part that we need to go over again? Um, what one big thing I think is also to come across as you're educating them more than selling to them at this point too.
Mm.
So they feel like if they have further questions down the line, they can come back to you and speak further about these without fearing that you're gonna be pushy or not answer the question honestly because you want the sale. So you want to come across as an educator and make sure that everything is understood 100% completely.
Okay, but do you think that, let's just say that you have no idea if you're in their budget or not because they didn't give any indication. Should you at the end ask in maybe in a subtle way or, or even in a direct way, like, am I in your budget or what is your budget? Is that a good idea?
I think so. I do think so. I think people appreciate people that are straightforward with them and to the point. especially with a business. Even though it is a more than a business transaction, it is still a business transaction. So people appreciate that in business transactions when somebody can be straightforward and get down to the point with them and give them numbers and find out if it's where they're at. You have to always ask for the close most of the time, like 90% of the time, unless somebody's just like that rare buyer that's just like can't wait to buy. I feel like you should always ask for the sale, and that's part of it. Asking them, am I in your budget? Are we on the right track? Because you won't know unless you ask sometimes. Like sometimes people are shy, they don't want to say anything, or I don't know. I in my opinion, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I've always shied away myself from asking that because, I was firm on my pricing, let's say.
Mhm.
But nowadays, I'm okay with a little bit of negotiating. So if,
Some people just want to get $100 off. I don't know. Like if you don't say anything, that maybe they just want to They felt like negotiating, and they want to get a few hundred off, and you can get down to that.
yeah, I mean, sometimes there's a wedding that I really want. And, like because it's a planner that I want to work with, the venue's amazing. And, I also don't ever ask why they didn't go with me. And I know you're supposed to follow up and ask so that it's helpful, obviously, for the future.
It is
But
helpful, but I wouldn't take that as some like rule you have to ask. Like, I mean, it's most of the time it's nothing out of that's in your control. So,
I think a lot
but I
of
mean,
times, yeah, I think a lot of times it is pricing. So I always think, man, if I could have somehow conveyed that I could be a little bit flexible, I could have gotten this wedding. Speaking about numbers, not being shy about it. It's just
yeah.
like there's just so much expertise and education out there, and I'm always like soaking it all in. And it's like you think one person's right and then another person says something else, but that's why I like talking to you because you work in just straight sales and
Mhm.
like the actual techniques that work. So,
And there's a lot of books out there about specific parts of the sale. There's so many books just about different closing techniques, different opening techniques, every part of the process. There's probably hundreds of books about each step of the sales process. So if people really want to get into the psychology of sales, there's like an infinite amount of resources out there for it.
nice. Is there a certain book that you really like?
Well, the last one I read was about prospecting, so I wanted to brush up on that. So I don't know if that would really be helpful with.
Actually, it might be a little helpful because when you reach, let's say, the luxury market, you're actually selling to planners.
Mm,
And a lot of times they're not aware of you or they just have their regular people that they work with. But so you kind of have to maybe not cold contact, but like warm contact. Like you've
mhm,
met them at least, or you've been following them on social media and are, making sure that you're visible by liking and commenting. And
mhm.
so then you can do like a warm email. What do you think about that? Because like I said, at the luxury level, you're mostly working with planners and it's kind of like they're your client.
About cold emailing, like it can work, but just be prepared to do a lot of it to get results. Cold anything, cold calling, cold emailing, cold knocking on doors. Like just be prepared to do a lot of work for small results.
Yeah.
But it can definitely work. I mean, it's tried and true. People have built businesses. People have built corporations for starting with that kind of thing. But it's a lot of work.
Okay.
Um,
So then warm emailing is going to obviously be a little bit more in your
uh,
favor.
oh yeah, of
As
course,
in,
yeah.
you've met this planner maybe once or twice at network. This is why networking, I think, is very important. And there's so many opportunities nowadays for networking events to meet, fellow vendors. And for us, I mean, the planners are, they're like the honey to us bees. Everyone's trying to talk to them, but that's still a foot in the door if
Mhm.
you've actually had a conversation, introduced yourself, and then send an email. So I guess I would call that a warm email.
Yeah, if there's been any kind of previous contact there, then it becomes warm.
Okay.
Yeah, if they inquire, then that's a hot lead. Yeah, any kind of contact becomes warm, and which is exponentially better. than a cold email. Even if
Yeah.
even if it's like a referral is like a very warm lead. But yeah, I mean, cold is like the worst of the worst. Like I said, people have built businesses out of that. It's just tough.
Yeah. It's discouraging too.
Oh yeah, you have to be ready for a lot of rejection.
Right. Or just, yeah, no responses for sure.
No response, yeah. Even outright hostility sometimes.
Oh my
I don't
gosh.
well, I don't know. I'm just now I'm just talking about sales in general. I don't think anybody would be hostile to a wedding photographer. I don't know.
I mean, you'd be surprised.
Mm.
I know, like, I've definitely experienced a little bit of hostility, but that's another topic.
And when you're asking about book recommendations, I'll say that you should definitely check out Tom Hopkins. He's like an old school sales guy, but out of all the like I've read like really old stuff and like newer books. Tom Hopkins is like kind of in the middle because I think his stuff came out in like the late '80s, early '90s. But I really like his style of selling. He's like a real estate guy, but it's like very warm, uh, friendly, positive outlook on selling kind of sellings, but still very technique and technical oriented selling too. So if you look at some of his books, that might be helpful.
Nice. What was his name again? Tom
Tom
Hopkins?
Hopkins.
Okay, great. Okay, so I think I'm just gonna ask you one last question.
Mhm.
So, say a photographer has a great initial call, the couple seems interested, but they don't book immediately. Like you send the proposal and you don't hear from them. What would you recommend as a way to follow up without feeling too pushy? Or maybe you should be a little pushy. I don't know. What do you think?
I guess if it just depends how you felt about that couple. If you really feel like there was something there, like really read the signs. You know, like if you follow up with them after a week and say, "Hi, how's it going?" and they ghost you again, then it's probably done. It's dead. But if they respond in any way, like, "Oh, we're still thinking," try again after a week. I mean, um, it's definitely one of the hardest things to do follow up, but it's also, people leave a lot of money on the table when they don't. So you should definitely do your best to follow up, um, unless you really felt bad about the call afterwards, you should follow up, like, 100% of the time on with people.
Yeah, that makes sense. And this is like, yeah, if a couple's seeming to be interested, they express it. But I've also heard that people are taking longer to book. I think ever since the pandemic, when things were somewhat unknown for the future, people are not booking a year in advance anymore. Let's say even if they're inquiring, they're probably not ready to book like maybe 6 months to even 3 months out. And it used to be that like you wanted to secure your vendors right away. So yeah, you're gonna book the venue, the photographer a year
Mhm,
beforehand. I almost think that like this, especially photography, is very saturated. So it's almost like clients know that if this photographer that they initially inquired with isn't available, well, there's going to be another amazing one that will be available.
mhm.
So that's another thing. We need to ramp up our sales techniques and all that because there's just so much competition now.
Yeah, and you asked how would be a good way. This isn't something that I've done too much, but I've always thought it was a good idea, um, to make it more friendly, less salesman-y is to, send, like, an article, or maybe a photo that and personalize it to them with the follow-up, not just like, "Hey, did you decide yet?" Like, but be like, "I saw this photo, and from what we were talking about in our conversation, this is a good angle that we could use at our shoot," and then just attach it and be like, "Let me know what you think," or like if you guys discussed a certain venue, like, "Oh, I saw this article about this venue and I thought of you," and then you send that and you just, it's a much friendlier way than to just being like, "You ready to buy?"
Wow, I actually love that so much. And I have not heard that at all from anyone else. And that's such a great way to like also stand out a bit from the other photographers that they probably talk to. Because that's
Uh-huh,
the one thing I forgot to mention. They're reaching out to several vendors, not even just photographers, but you can guarantee you're not the only one that they had a call with.
That's why I wanna be the first.
Yeah, you wanna be the first. So to recap, you wanna respond as soon as possible. And let's say you are shooting a wedding, because it is on a Saturday that they reached out by email. Even when I'm at a wedding, I still have time to glance at my phone here and there, and I will just send a quick message saying, like, I don't know, like, "I'm busy right now, but I got your email. I am available on your date, and I'll get back
Mhm.
to you with more details." Or actually,
Yeah.
when I actually don't even have to tell them I'll get back to them because I can send out I have a CRM, I use HoneyBook, I love HoneyBook, and I'm able to just quickly send a template email that I change their name and all that, and the personal details, the venue, the date, and say I'm available. And then I send them my pricing sheet. Again, I know that's not what everyone does. That's what I do. But it also allows me to quickly answer their email without putting in a lot of work. Thank you for coming on. I'm always asking you questions. So I thought, why not share them with the wedding photography world?
Yeah, maybe someone out there will listen to my suggestion.
I think so. I mean, I've listened to plenty of experts, and that's the other thing because there's a lot of us putting out education, you got to kind of take what's relevant to you, what
Yeah.
resonates the most with you, right?
Yeah,
Because
you gotta build up your own style.
your own style, yeah, whether it's in every way, right? And your own sales technique, I think is also dependent on personality. Sometimes you have a more straightforward type of personality, so you lean into that and you talk about numbers more, or you're just more charming and you can use that.
Mhm. But you gotta be, flexible. Even if you're Mr. Charming, sometimes people just wanna hear numbers, and you gotta be flexible enough to get into that with the customer that wants the numbers, so you have to be flexible too.
Yeah, yeah. Be a bit of a chameleon if you can be.
Mhm.
Well, husband, thank you so much for joining me and sharing your sales wisdom with us wedding photographers. I'll, I'll be continuing to ask you questions at home. So
Okay, and I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you for having me on.
thank you.